What's up, guys? This is Christopher Carrington with another GMUstudent.com, and today we are going to start coding. We are going to be writing some JDBC code that will take us from the project that we built to the driver. So I'm going to explain this a little bit before we jump into the code. But basically, as you can see, we created this JDBC project, and we put in this driver, and previously we had our MySQL MAMP set up. So currently, right now, we have a project, we have a driver that's inserted into that lib folder, and we have a database. And what Java does is it utilizes this driver to connect from the project to the database. But we can't just utilize this driver by putting it in our lib folder. Every single time we want to use that driver, there's a little bit of code that we're going to have to write. So if you just think of this flow, it's always going to start with our project. So here's our project, JDBC. So this holds everything that we have. And then we have our driver, which is in that lib folder. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to make the connection from this project to the driver. Okay, so we're going to write that bit of code that will make us connect from the project to the driver. And then in the next tutorial, we'll learn how to connect from the driver to the database. Alright, so I hope everybody understands what we are going to do. So now, let's do it. So as I said, we want to connect from the driver, from the project to the driver. So what we need to do is we need to go into our Java resources. And I have a package in here called com.gmustudent. You can call it org.whatever your URL is, or you can call it com.gmustudent and give me a little bit of a shout out in your own home computer. But anyway, just make your little package, and now we're going to create a new class within that package. And I'm going to call this class implementation. You can call it whatever you feel like, alright? So, obviously, in this class, we're going to need a main method because that's how we're going to be doing all of our JDBC connections to start out with. So I'm going to make this big, and I'm going to type my main method. So just public static void main string args. Okay, so now let's figure out what we need to type to get from this project to start utilizing that driver. Wake it up and start using it so that we can make that connection. In order to wake that driver up and start using it, just follow along with me, write this code, and then I'm going to explain it. Alright? So come up here, let's do an import, and type in import java.lang.class.found exception. And then within the main method, give me a try and a catch block. In the try, just type all of this and I'll explain it later. System.out.println, and let's type in connecting to driver. And now let's write the actual code that will make that connection. So type class.forName. And in there, let's type in com.mysql.jdbc.driver. And after this, let's type in system.out.println. And in here, let's type in connection successful. And in this catch block, let's type in class not found exception. So we want to use the exception that we imported here, so that's why we had to import it. Let's type in error. We should start getting some color after that. Okay, so now our try catch block looks regular, and now let's print out to the console what that error would be if it ever happens. And let's just type in error space plus error dot get message. Okay, I know this was a lot of code. Let's run it and then let's explain it. In this video, we're just going to try and figure out what we just wrote. So I'm going to run this code, and I'm going to run it as a Java application. So click OK. And in our console, we say connecting to driver, and we see connection successful. So that means everything worked out, and I really hope that's what you guys see. And the reason we know the connection was successful was because if there was an, how do I get rid of this? Type that. Okay, let's just put it down there. Open that, double click it again. Sorry about that. So what this is saying is that if there was an exception thrown on this line, then it would have printed this statement out and it would have never printed connection successful. So we know that it worked because connection successful was actually printed out. And what is this doing? This is waking up that driver, and it's saying, hey, I want to use this driver and I want to make it a MySQL driver and I want it to work for this project. And that's why we typed in com.mysql.jdbc.driver. So this is saying it's a MySQL driver and I want to use it with what we imported right here. So just so that you know that this is actually doing something, let's do this wrong and see what happens. Let's say if we forgot to put in the Q and the L in here, and let's just say we had a simple typo. What do you think would happen? Let's save this, and let's run this. And you will see error, and it will say that this driver is not found. It doesn't know what this driver is. It doesn't see that class. This is a problem, and this is how you know it's actually working. But when we type in the right thing, and we run it, it says connection successful. Before, it didn't say connection successful. It stopped. So what we just did, again, is we made our connection from the project to the driver, and now it's going to be a MySQL driver. So in the next tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to make the connection from the driver to the database. And then we're going to start having the flow go through really well, and we're going to start writing all kinds of queries. So the next step is making the driver to the database connection. So thank you all for watching. I hope this tutorial was useful, and I will see you in the next tutorial.